Well, welcome back. You already had an inkling on who is next. At least Senator Aledeh gave all that out. Now, joining me is Fela Durotoye. He's a presidential candidate for Alliance for New Nigeria. Good to have you.
Hi, Sulaiman. It's
so
great
excited to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Very excited. First, let's start by saying, there was a time I went on and I said, I've been trying to look for you.
Yeah.
And people, there was another time people went on Twitter and they said, hey, why haven't you invited him? I invited him. Perhaps you should let him in on what's been happening to your schedule and why it took us this time for you to be on the show.
Well, it's thank you first of all, and and thank you for having me now. Thank you for reaching out when you did. Unfortunately, as you know, I couldn't be on the show at that time because we had a really packed out schedule trying to do what you would call a nationwide tour.
You actually went round.
Oh yeah, I mean we've been to 28 states now across Nigeria, having town hall meetings across this country.
Have you been to Edo State?
Yeah, yes, of course.
I was going to hold you.
Yes, we have, and really, you know, tomorrow morning I'm on the road again. I'm doing a few states even deeper in the north. Again, because Nigeria is a big country.
It is.
And Nigeria is not just Lagos. So a lot of people think that, you know, if you're running for a presidential race, you must, you know, do everything you can to cover Nigeria, and that's true. You need to get to know the people, and you need to get the people to know you. That's what the whole essence of leadership is. And for me, it's just been an amazing experience getting to know as many people as possible, eating the local, food, sleeping in, different kinds of hotels, but most importantly, meeting the people, getting to know the people. It's been amazing, and that's put a really jam-packed schedule for me, almost a whole year on being on the road. You know, I was saying to you before we started the show, many times I'm only home one night in a week. You know, so you know, that's why I haven't been here, but I'm glad to be here now.
I'm also excited that you're here, and because I've seen you even in some traditional, you know, homes, palaces, and places. Yeah. A lot of people have welcomed you.
Yes.
Perhaps let's start by telling us what you now make of Nigeria and Nigerians going around, because this is different from you standing there telling us what exactly we should do. Telling us how we should live our lives, wake up. And I'll come back to one thing you're very passionate about, education. But tell us, going around, if anyone stops you and say, Mr. Durotoye, who are Nigerians?
I would say Nigerians are some of the kindest people that you would ever have met. Nigerians are giving, they're loving people. Nigerians have undoubtedly the largest heart that you can have in any people. I think the narrative about Nigeria and Nigerians, and especially tribes, are so wrong. Most times when you think, you know, a lot of people also think that there are divisions, that we have been sold, and there's stories. Because what happens is that, you know, you go to, let me give you a story that might help you understand. I'm flying into Owerri. I get on the plane, and I'm sitting in economy because that's what I fly. And the reason why I want to quickly just stop by and deal with that is that, you know, our campaign has not been funded by any godfathers.
I was going to ask you that.
And no cabals. And it's just been the contributions of people. And I've always said that, you know, we've got to the responsibility to be as prudent as possible. So for me, I will never fly business class with campaign funds. I will never do it, because it's taking people to give you 2,000 naira, 1,000 naira, 500 naira. I mean, students are giving me 1,000 naira. How can I then take that and go and fly business class when I have the option of flying economy? So do you know that when we're on the road, we actually do sleep 2 people to a room, including myself. Yeah. So, I mean, no one person sleeps one in a room, and we just don't. And I think that we're probably the only campaign that not only publishes our budget for the month, but we also publish our expenses for the month. Nobody has seen that.
That's novel.
You know, but coming back to what it is that you were saying. So here it is, we're flying economy class, and there's this gentleman who's an elderly man, you know, very dignified looking gentleman. And I was very polite to him as I was passing by. And on my way out, he just said to me, you're such a polite young man. Tell me, what, and we started walking out together. He talked to me about it and said, you need to come to my house to eat. I find out that he is the king.
Whoa.
And he didn't even keep that. And guess what? In the end, he made a contribution of 50,000 naira to the campaign. And that helps you to understand this is a king from the Igbo land. I'm just trying to keep,
to situate it properly so that people understand.
To keep his identity.
Yeah.
King from Igbo land meeting someone, talking to the person, sharing a vision of a new Nigeria, and saying, I will contribute. Everybody thinks of the narrative that, when you go and see a royal father, he has to collect from you. And this man was so simple. I mean, yes, he was wearing the red cap, but I didn't realize that he was a king. And to cut the long story short, he wanted it to be a surprise. In his simplicity. So Nigerians we'll go to the north, it's the same thing. Go to the east, it's the same thing. Go to the south. People are loving. And one other thing, people are suffering. Sulaiman, the suffering that most people have in Nigeria, they think is located only in their own area. So you hear every one place where you go, everybody talks about how marginalized they are, how badly the government has treated them. But it's actually all through. So the same way they're suffering in the east is the same way they're suffering in the north, is the same way they're suffering is in the southwest. So it's one of those things that I found out that we have common pains, we have common aspirations for a great nation. Every Nigerian wants to live well and just feed their families. And so my point is, Nigerians are pretty much the same.
Alliance for New Nigeria, because we're trying to see the newness that you bring into our country, Nigeria. And I said I was going to ask you something about education, because it irks me to realize that a lot of people, mouth it, they say it, and they come into office and maybe they leave the people or they leave the sector worse than they actually met it. Mm-hmm. So what are those plans that you have, knowing full well that you were also pained when you saw the results of students there, and that pushed you to write a book to help these people? Yes. So what do you have for them should you be elected president?
Okay, so just if you don't mind, just before I talk about that, I want to talk on something that you touched on, which is, a lot of times when you see politicians, they come and they make you promises, and those promises many times they don't fulfill, in part because they don't really have those promises in their hearts, and number two, because they don't have the capacity to deliver on those things. So I always say to people, don't listen to a politician's promise. Go back and research the politician's history and see if he's done anything in that area, and whatever he's done will help you to have an idea of what he can do. Now, in my instance, like you said, I wrote a book called 17 Secrets of High-Flying Students in 2005 or 2006, right? In 2005, there had been this, the NECO results had been published. 84% of students who sat for NECO failed. Out of 1,013,000 students that sat for NECO, 864,000 of them failed, did not pass. And I felt heartbroken. I wrote a book that has changed the lives of students, but that's not all. In 2009, I also mobilized 75 teachers to train students from 94 schools, an after-school program in 2009, and we did it free of charge. Every student that came in there didn't have to pay a dime. That's not all. When we discovered that out of them, about 900 of them didn't have math sets and four-figure tables, we actually bought math sets and four-figure tables for them, and in the end ended up giving out 4,122 math sets and four-figure tables at no cost. We took on Oyo State students who were going to sit for NECO in 2009, and we did a training for them in 2008, 48,150 of them. And they had been, generally Oyo State had been performing at about number 28 in math and number 23 in English. When we did that intervention over a 10-day period, 22 centers across Oyo State, the students that sat for that exam in 2009 came out and their results was number 3 in English and number 4 in maths on the League of Performance of States. So you can imagine that. But so for me, I think that what I've done will help to say what my understanding of what needs to be fixed. And this is what I say. Train a child and you train a person. Train a teacher or fix a teacher and you fix a generation. So for me, I think there are 3 things that we need to invest in quickly, and there are many things, but 3 most important ones. Number 1, you need to fix the teachers. We need quality teachers who are experts in certain subject areas. Number 2, we need to fix the infrastructure and make the place of learning a conducive environment where students would love to learn. And number 3, we need to fix the curriculum. In other words, we need to make sure that our students are not just being trained to get a certificate, but they're being trained to succeed in life and in a profession of their choice. So they need to start learning things about leadership. They need to start learning things about values, excellence. They need to start driving things into the curriculum that is going to, in a sense, be tailored around the user. Who is the user? The user is the market. The user is the corporate world. So for me, I think that bankers, professionals, should be the one telling universities what students of banking and finance should learn. Because it's the bankers who know what are we expecting them to be able to do, so that we don't do like what's happening today. We produce students and then they still have to go through 10 weeks of training. Induction, they call it, just before they are user-friendly.
Let's talk about the ANN as a political party and programs. In Nigeria, people talk about, I'm quite sure some have asked you, why didn't you join any of these parties? Perhaps, or why didn't you join any of these existing parties? Why did you choose to come on the platform of ANN? You might want to say something on that.
Yes, I mean, so if you don't mind, I'll almost lend something from the scriptures. They say you don't pour new wine into old wineskin. It's going to burst. Meaning that you don't take a new mind frame and put it on an old structure. The structure will either crush it, as we have seen happen to many visionaries that went on the existing political platforms, and they literally have become people that the people are abusing and saying, look at this person, how could we have seen this? And we've seen it. We're still seeing some people like that everybody had high hopes for, but they're on a political platform that is defective in values and defective in culture. And so because of that, they have turned and literally maligned these people. And today we're looking at them, and so we see that a lot of times. What I believe very strongly is that we need new people with new thinking on new structures. And that's exactly what it is that we're doing. And I believe that the current structures, APC, PDP especially, if you look at it, they are two sides of the same coin. In fact, I call it two sides of the same bad coin. Their values are the same. You use money to buy votes, to stay in power, and then, rather than let your performance speak for you, you have to campaign so much again for election, because you really have nothing else to be able to show that this is the thing that we did. And then they want to make you think that they're the only two options. So it's who is the better of the two options. No, there is no, if you talk about lesser of two evils, evil is evil. Not when you even have options. So I keep saying, throw away the coin. This bad coin, throw it away, it's lost value. Let's use new mints. They're mint notes. ANN is a mint note.
I saw the excitement when I put this on the Instagram that you're coming on the show. A lot of people are excited. So it then means that, well, these are not party members. These are people, Nigerians, real people with real voter card perhaps, and they're ready to vote. And what does this make of, the whole essence of you, coming up with a word that you have just coined that is in our political lexicon, Floaters Party? Okay,
so I used to be a member of the Floaters Party, and I'm not sure whether you were one. Most of us didn't even know that we were members of that party. And who are the members of the Floaters Party? People who have, the ability to vote. They're old enough to vote. They have what it takes to vote. Sometimes they have voters cards, sometimes they don't. But they do not get involved in the voting process. Most of them will watch elections on TVC, sitting down in their homes, and then to a larger. So everybody who does not vote, who's old enough to vote, is a member of the Floaters Party. It's very interesting that the Floaters Party is actually the largest party in Nigeria. Oh yes. So if you look at, I'll give you an example. I'll give you statistics. 2015, 96 million people were above the age of 18. And even with vote buying, vote rigging, ballot snatching and filling, underage voting, manipulation of results, and actual voters, the total number that APC and PDP were able to amass in votes, not voters, was 28 million votes. Even if we assume, Sulaiman, that for the sake of this conversation, that every vote belonged to a voter, then that means 28 million voters was the largest that they were able to put together. That means that you still have 68 million people who did not vote APC or PDP. Now, out of those 68 million, 40 million of them had voters' cards. and another 28 million didn't even bother to go and
So
get
what
it. So
are
all
you
of those
doing?
guys are
Because I like the statistics that even INEC has helped us to actually
Yes.
better situate what you have just analyzed now.
Yes.
What are you doing to get that Floaters Party? Because you decamped, you left Floaters Party.
I left Floaters Party to come
And
to
perhaps I
ANN.
also left Floaters Party.
I hope everybody's going to leave. I hope we all decamp from Floaters Party this year
And participate.
And participate. That's really what the whole thing is.
So what are you doing to really, honestly, get these people out?
Oh no, and this is what it is. That's why I went all round. You know, and my entire run on this journey has been about getting Nigerians to get involved. Getting Nigerians everywhere to understand that if we're going to build the nation that we will be proud of, and the nation we will give to our children, that we'll be proud to give to them and they'll be grateful to receive from us, we must build it. And to build the nation, we need good governance. To get good governance, it is our responsibility to choose wisely and to choose some of the brightest and best. Encourage them if you have to, but get them into government. And Floaters Party do not get people into government. In fact, they allow people to go into government. So what I always say to the people who are floaters, and this is what I've done going all across the country, activating those guys. And what I say to them is very simple. When you don't vote, you get the government you deserve. But when you do vote, you may get the government you desire. So the chances of you getting a better government is higher when you vote. Let me also say that Floaters Party are the largest constituency of what I would call the collaboration of riggers. So every time you don't vote, you are making rigging easier. Because every time you don't show up, the chances that somebody can use your voter's card to be able to vote and that whole rigging process. So just know that if you decide to stay at home, you deserve the government you will get and probably maybe the suffering that you would have for the next few years. So I want everybody to decamp from Floaters Party. And you don't even have to join any other party, but I wish you would join ANN. But if you will, most importantly, cast your vote. Let's stop this thing that says, oh, I'm not going to vote because I don't know the people. Do your research. It is your responsibility. We are the most empowered generation in mankind that have walked the face of Nigeria. We've got the power of technology and communication. Use Google. Find out about people. It is your responsibility. You owe it to your children to get the best leaders. And they may not come from the two established parties. If they could, the two established parties would have given you the nation that you'll be proud to give to your children. So the question is always, are you happy? If the answer, are you happy with the way Nigeria is now? If the answer is yes, you must vote for the people who gave you this Nigeria. But if you're not happy with the answer, with the way Nigeria is now, you have a responsibility to find and make a difference by voting differently.
Are you looking to cash in on some of the bickerings in some of these, let's use your word, established political parties? For instance, in Ogun State, we've seen what has happened in Ogun State. And by the way, your governorship candidate in Ogun State, tell us about him.
Demola Ogunbajo. Yeah. Oh, Demola Ogunbajo is an absolutely brilliant young man. He's in his early 40s. He went to
people in their 40s.
Oh yes, but people in their 40s have always been the ones that first made the greatest difference. Think about it.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
I think when you get to your 40s, you can say that.
Remember that Tafawa Balewa was 48 years old when he stood on the podium on Saturday, the 1st of October, and delivered the independence speech. Remember that, in fact, Colonel Yakubu Gowon was 31 years old. Major General Olusegun Obasanjo was 38 years old.
But isn't it amazing?
And then Major General Buhari was 41 years old.
Yeah, no one has actually given that group of Nigerians a chance, and it's amazing that those who actually had that moment are the ones also sort of depriving the young Nigerians in their 30s and their 40s.
Absolutely, and you're so right, Sulaiman. What I would say is that Nigeria gave the young people a chance. And then some of those young people got in there and for whatever the reason realized that, oh, this is power. They didn't use it to lead and serve the people. They used it to rule over the people. And once they ruled over the people, they started to suppress them. And one of the things that comes when you rule over people is you don't believe in them. And more importantly, you suppress their potential to be able to become great. And so that's what happened. Many of these guys now have stayed in there and they did not mentor people. And the ones that they mentored, when they look at them, they say, man, I know I stole, but this guy's going to steal more. I can't leave this kind of this kind of country to my children. So the challenge is they feel like there's nobody that can get the job done. In fact, I remember that in 2014, one of the former generals said that there's no one in my generation that can rule Nigeria. And a few news, media people saw me somewhere and said to me, "Did you hear that General this said nobody in your generation can rule Nigeria?" And I said, "I pray that he's right." Everybody was shocked. Said, "What, Fela? What do you mean?" I said, "I pray that no one in my generation will be able to rule Nigeria, because Nigeria has been ruled for, at that time, 54 years, and it has not fulfilled its potential." I said, Nigeria needs to be led and not ruled. And there are many leaders, including Demola Ogunbanjo, young people, bright, who have a heart for the nation, who have a love for the people, who will respect the law and not trample over the law. People who have delivered and done excellently well in their career and their vocations. And if they can do it outside the governing space, they can do it in governing space, because it's no different. It's not political experience we need, Sulaiman. Political experience has done nothing for us except put potholes in our road, knock out light from our bulbs and give us generators, knock out water from our taps and give us boreholes. That's what political experience has done. Political experience has weakened our economy, weakened our currency, turned bright people into jobless human beings. Political experience has brought down our nation. That's why we have a nation that we're not proud of today. It is leadership experience we need.
Let me see if I can actually knock your door before I go. How is Madam taking this? Travels, trips, night meetings?
She's been the most amazing support and cheerleader that I can ever imagine. And I pray that every candidate has the kind of person, has my wife, that your wife is pretty much like that. She's just been amazing. She's been hands-on. She's been encouraging. She's looked at me on the days that things didn't go right, and when she's seen me when my head was down and helped me to lift it up. She's seen me when my head is almost getting big, and she says to me, "Cool down." But she's just been there. She's held fort. She's held the home, and my kids have done exceptionally well. A few days ago, my children went to thank her, over these holidays, to say, "Mommy, thank you for all that you've done to support Daddy on this journey." She's been an absolute blessing, and I pray God bless her. I pray that Nigeria gets to experience her as a First Lady. It will be my best gift to Nigeria, apart from giving Nigeria a better quality of life, a better standard of living, giving Nigerians good roads without potholes, light that is not blinking, security, and all of those wonderful things that we plan to do. I pray that literally Nigerians get to experience Tara as First Lady.
I usually don't say amen to people on my show, but I say amen to all of that, and amen to the prayers from your children to your wife. Best wishes, Fela Durotoye, on the program.
Thank you. Great.
Well, it's a wrap on the show, Political Stew, and we do hope that we'll be having him back on the show just before February 16, which is D-Day for all of them. From all of us here, it's good night.